My parents humiliated me by forcing me to sit at the kids' table at a formal dinner, while my married siblings dined with the adults. I silently walked out. Hours later, my phone was blowing up with desperate calls from everyone. I never thought I'd be posting here, but I'm at a loss and could use some outside perspective. This happened last night, and I'm still reeling from it. Sorry for the long post, but there's a lot to unpack. For context, I'm a 32-year-old woman living in New York City. I work as a marketing executive for a Fortune 500 company, and I'm pretty successful in my career. I'm single, which has always been a point of contention with my family back in Iowa. My parents, Thomas and Margaret, are pillars of their small Midwestern community. Dad's a judge, Mom's the perfect judge's wife. They raised us with very traditional values. Get married young, have kids, stay close to home. My siblings all followed that path. I'm the black sheep who moved to the big city and focused on my career. I have 3 siblings: Emma, 30, Olivia, 28, and Michael, 22. They're all married or engaged, living within a 20-mile radius of our parents. I'm the only one who flew the coop, as my mom likes to say. Now, on to last night's disaster. 2 weeks ago, I received a formal invitation to a family dinner at my parents' house. It was odd. We're not usually the formal invitation type of family, but I figured maybe they were trying to make an effort to bridge the growing gap between us. I accepted, even though it meant taking time off work and flying halfway across the country. I spent a small fortune on a new dress, had my hair and makeup done professionally, and even splurged on a pair of Louboutins. I wanted to show them that I was doing well, that my life choices were valid, even if they didn't understand them. When I arrived at the house, everything seemed normal at first. Mom hugged me, commenting on how city chic I looked, which I chose to take as a compliment. Dad gave me a stiff pat on the back. My siblings and their spouses were all there, dressed up but not as formally as me. As we moved to the dining room, that's when things went sideways. The main dining table was set beautifully. Crisp white tablecloth, the good china, crystal glasses, the works. My parents, siblings, and their spouses were all taking their seats. But before I could join them, my mother put her hand on my arm. "Oh, sweetie," she said in that saccharine voice she uses when she's about to say something she knows I won't like. "We thought you'd be more comfortable at the kids' table with your nieces and nephews." I froze. The kids' table was a folding table in the corner, covered in a plastic tablecloth, with cartoon characters on it. My young nieces and nephews were already seated there, coloring on paper placemats with crayons. I looked back at the main table. All the adults were seated, pointedly not making eye contact with me. Even Michael, my baby brother, was there with his eyes. In that moment, I felt like I'd been slapped. All the air left my lungs. I could feel tears pricking at my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Without a word, I turned and walked out of the dining room. I grabbed my purse from the entryway and left the house. I could hear my mother calling after me, but I didn't stop. I got in my rental car and drove away. I ended up at a hotel near the airport. I turned off my phone and ordered room service. I felt numb, hurt, and angry all at once. After a few hours, I turned my phone back on. It exploded with notifications. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages from my parents, my siblings, even some extended family members. They ranged from concerned to angry, all demanding to know where I was and why I had left. One message from Olivia caught my eye. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. We didn't realize how much this would hurt you. Please come back. We need to talk." I sat there, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to book the next flight back to New York and never look back. But another part of me knew that if I didn't confront this now, it would fester and poison whatever relationship I had left with my family. I decided to respond to Olivia's message. She had always been the most empathetic of my siblings, and I felt like she might actually listen. "I'm safe," I texted back. "But I'm not coming back tonight. What happened was humiliating and hurtful. I need some time to process." Olivia replied almost immediately. I understand. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow morning? Just the two of us. I agreed, and we set a time to meet at a local cafe. Then I turned my phone off again and tried to get some sleep, though my mind was racing with thoughts and memories. The next morning, I met Olivia at the cafe. She looked tired and worried. As soon as I sat down, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Sarah, I am so sorry, she said, her voice thick with emotion. What happened last night was wrong. We should have never let Mom and Dad do that to you. I took a deep breath. Why did it happen at all, Liv? Why was I singled out like that? Olivia sighed. It's complicated. Mom and Dad, they're struggling with how different your life is from what they expected. They don't understand your choices, and it scares them. So they decided to humiliate me. I asked, feeling the anger rise again. No, Olivia said quickly. Well, not intentionally. They thought, God, this sounds so stupid now. They thought it would make you see what you're missing out on. Being with family, with kids. They thought if you spent time with the little ones, you might start thinking about having your own. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So it was some kind of misguided intervention to get me to conform to their idea of what my life should be. Olivia nodded, looking ashamed. I know it's not an excuse. We should have spoken up, said something. But you know how Mom and Dad can be. They steamroll over everyone. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this information. On one hand, I was glad to know that it wasn't just a cruel joke at my expense. On the other hand, the fact that my entire family had gone along with this plan was deeply hurtful. What about you, Liv? I asked. Do you think I'm missing out? Do you think my life is somehow less valid because I'm not married with kids? Olivia's eyes widened. No, Sarah, no. I admire you so much. You're living this amazing life in New York. You're successful. You're independent. Sometimes I envy you. That surprised me. You do, she nodded. Don't get me wrong. I love my husband and my kids. But sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd been brave enough to leave Iowa, to pursue a career like you did. We talked for hours, really talked in a way we hadn't in years. Olivia shared her own struggles with our parents' expectations, and I opened up about how isolated I'd felt from the family. It was cathartic, and by the end, I felt like I'd reconnected with my sister in a meaningful way. But I still had to deal with the rest of the family. Olivia suggested we go back to our parents' house together, promising to have my back. I agreed, though my stomach was in knots as we drove there. When we arrived, everyone was there, looking tense and uncomfortable. As soon as I walked in, my mother rushed towards me, tears in her eyes. Oh, Sarah, we were so worried. She cried, trying to hug me. I stepped back, not ready for that level of physical contact yet. We need to talk, I said firmly, looking around at everyone. All of us. What followed was an intense, emotional family meeting that lasted for hours. There were tears, shouting, and painful truths revealed on all sides. I learned that my parents, especially my father, had been deeply shaken by a recent health scare. It had made them hyper-aware of their mortality, and they were panicking about my lonely lifestyle. They genuinely believed they were helping me by trying to show me the joys of family life. I, in turn, explained how hurtful and damaging their actions had been. I told them about my life in New York, not just the career successes, but the rich friendships, the cultural experiences, the personal growth. I made it clear that while my life might look different from theirs, it was fulfilling and meaningful to me. I'm not lonely, I said, looking directly at my father. I'm not missing out. I'm living the life I chose, and I'm happy. Why isn't that enough for you? My father, a man I'd rarely seen express strong emotion, looked away. When he spoke, his voice was gruff with suppressed feeling. I just want you to be taken care of, Sarah. When your mother and I are gone, I can take care of myself. Dad, I interrupted gently. I've been doing it for years. And I have people in my life who care about me, even if they're not family by blood. My siblings chimed in too. Emma admitted she'd always been a little jealous of my freedom and success. Michael, the youngest, confessed he'd felt pressured to get engaged early because he thought it was what the family expected. It was a raw, honest conversation that we should have had years ago. We talked about the pressure of family expectations, the different ways people can find happiness and fulfillment, and the importance of respecting each other's choices. My mother, who had been uncharacteristically quiet for most of the discussion, finally spoke up. "Sarah, we've been so wrong," she said, her voice shaking. "We were so focused on what we thought your life should look like that we couldn't see how wonderful it actually is. Can you forgive us?" I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "I want to," I said honestly, "but it's going to take time." What happened last night? It brought up years of feeling judged and misunderstood. We can't just pretend it didn't happen. Of course not, my father said, surprising me with his agreement. We have a lot of work to do as a family. But Sarah, we want to try. If you're willing. I looked around at my family. My parents, looking older and more vulnerable than I'd ever seen them. My siblings, a mix of guilt and hope on their faces. I thought about all the years of misunderstandings and hurt feelings, but also about the good times, the love that I knew was there despite everything. "I'm willing to try," I said finally, "but things need to change. I need you all to really see me for who I am, not who you want me to be." There were nods all around. It was a start. The rest of the day was spent in a strange mix of tension and relief. We were all emotionally exhausted, but there was also a sense that a weight had been lifted. We ordered pizza and ate it in the living room, a far cry from the formal dinner of the night before, but somehow more genuine. As I prepared to leave for my hotel, my mother approached me hesitantly. "Sarah, would you consider staying here tonight? Your old room is still made up. I understand if you don't want to, but..." I thought about it for a moment. Part of me wanted to retreat to the safety of the hotel, but another part recognized this as the olive branch it was. "Okay," I said. "I'll stay." That night, as I lay in my childhood bed, surrounded by remnants of my teenage years, I reflected on everything that had happened. The hurt was still there, but it was tempered now by understanding and hope. The next morning, as I was packing to head back to New York, there was a knock on my door. It was my father, looking uncomfortable but determined. "Sarah," he said, clearing his throat, "I was wondering, would it be all right if your mother and I came to visit you in New York sometime? We'd like to see your life there, to understand it better." I was touched by the effort this obviously cost him. "I'd like that, Dad," I said softly. "I'd like that a lot." As I boarded my flight back to New York later that day, I felt a mix of emotions. The past 48 hours had been a whirlwind of hurt, anger, and ultimately, a tentative reconciliation. I knew we had a long way to go as a family, but for the first time in years, I felt hopeful about our future. The weeks that followed were a period of adjustment for all of us. True to their word, my parents made efforts to understand and appreciate my life choices. We had regular video calls where I'd show them around my apartment, introduce them to my friends, and share stories about my work and experiences in the city. My siblings and I started a group chat where we'd share updates about our lives, big and small. It was nice to feel connected to them again, to be part of each other's daily lives, even from a distance. About a month after the disastrous dinner, my parents came to visit me in New York. I was nervous about their arrival, wondering if the progress we'd made would hold up in person. I needn't have worried. From the moment they stepped off the plane, I could see they were making a genuine effort. My mother hugged me warmly, commenting on how confident and at home I looked in the busy airport. My father, less demonstrative, but no less sincere, squeezed my shoulder and said, "Show us your city, Sarah." And show them, I did. Over the next few days, I took them to my favorite restaurants, introduced them to my friends, and even brought them to my office. Seeing my parents interact with my colleagues, hearing my boss praise my work, it felt like worlds colliding in the best possible way. One evening, as we sat in my apartment after a long day of sightseeing, My mother turned to me with tears in her eyes. "Sarah," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I owe you an apology. A real one." I set down my wine glass, giving her my full attention. She continued, "Seeing you here, in your element, I realize now how wrong we've been. You're not just surviving here, you're thriving. You've built a beautiful life for yourself, and we should have celebrated that instead of trying to change it." My father nodded in agreement. "We were scared," he admitted. "The world is changing so fast, and your life looked so different from what we knew. But that was our problem, not yours. We're proud of you, Sarah. We should have told you that a long time ago." I felt tears welling up in my own eyes. "Thank you," I said softly. "That means more than you know." We talked late into the night, really talked. About their fears for me, about my feelings of isolation from the family, about our hopes for the future. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of tension and old hurts resurfacing, but it felt honest and healing. As they were leaving to go back to Iowa, my mother hugged me tightly. "Next time you come home," she said, "you'll have a place at the main table, always." I laughed through my tears. "Thanks, Mom. But maybe we can just get rid of the kids' table altogether. Eat as one big family." She nodded, smiling. "I'd like that." In the months that followed, our family dynamic continued to evolve. My siblings and their spouses came to visit me in New York, and I made more frequent trips back to Iowa. The judgment and pressure I'd always felt before were replaced by genuine interest and support. During one of my visits home, I overheard my father talking to a colleague at a local restaurant. "My daughter," he was saying proudly, "she's a marketing executive in New York City, doing amazing things." Hearing those words, I felt a warmth spread through my chest. It wasn't about the praise itself, but the recognition and acceptance behind it. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were still moments of misunderstanding, times when old patterns threatened to resurface. But now, we had the tools and the willingness to work through these issues openly and honestly. 1 year after the kids' table incident, as we'd come to call it, we had another family dinner. This time, it was at my apartment in New York. I'd pushed all my furniture to the walls to make room for one long table, where everyone could sit together, adults, kids, and me. As I looked around at my family, my parents beaming with pride, my siblings and their spouses engaged in lively conversation, my nieces and nephews excitedly sharing stories about their first time in the big city, I felt a sense of belonging that I'd been missing for years. It wasn't perfect, but it was real and genuine.